welcome to another So You Woke Up podcast episode. And I'm here with, I'm going to let her say her name because I'm going to butcher it.
Saule Ilona Vaida.
Yes, and we are going to have another conversation on living outside of the matrix, waking up, all that good, beautiful stuff, and her story on how it happened to her. So please
Mhm.
let me know, what was your story of waking up being like, oh wow, I can't do this. There's got to be another way. Let me do that.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. I mean, I picked like a pretty big soul contract, not gonna lie. Like I was born into a family that was quite traumatic. There was a lot of instances of like abuse and neglect and a big like generational traumas. Also being born into like Eastern European family and growing up in the US, so there was a lot of different kind of elements that came into that time as I was growing up. And I actually emancipated myself at age 17 and was adopted by like another family. And they kind of took me in and took care of me, and I struggled a lot with my like mental health, and I had a really bad trauma. I was dissociated a lot and just pretty much like in and out of survival mode up until like the age of 20. So what happened was when I was 18, I moved to Spain by myself to go to university in Barcelona, and I was very like traumatized still, very much in survival mode. And I was studying musical theater, and at night I was like working at nights, and I was going out a lot and drinking and just being very unhealthy and like really not taking care of my body. And it was starting to have a negative effect on my voice, on my, my university work and everything. So I kind of was going down this dark path, but that I needed to experience that at the time. Like I just needed to I just had such a hunger to experience like as much as possible. And at that time that included like going into those really dark places and like not respecting myself, just really some dark stuff. And then I had this moment where I made a cup of tea and I put the tea in a jar. And never do that, by the way, because this is what happens when you put hot liquids into a jar, boiling liquids. The glass will
Oh,
break.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Boom.
Boom, just breaks. And so I was holding this like cup of tea, the glass jar broke, the bottom fell out, and it fell like on my leg, this boiling water. So I had like a
Oh,
second degree burn. And so my whole leg was like in a cast. I had to go to the hospital for the first time in my life, and I was pretty much told like you can't dance, you can't do your exams, you just need to stay at home and like rest. And so I couldn't like do my job. I couldn't take my dance exams because we were at the end of the year. So I was literally forced to stay home and catch up on like all the sleep that I was missing, and just
stop.
begin.
Universe was like, stop.
Yeah, universe was like, enough. Okay, you've had your fun. We're done now. Time for you to wake up, literally.
Yeah.
And so from there, I actually started to meditate every day, like just 10 minutes a day. I started doing it in the morning before going to university, and it became like a staple, like necessary thing for me because I was feeling like, oh wow, this is actually making a really positive difference in my life. And then I went to see like a nutritionist and made a meal plan for eating healthy, and I went to see a Reiki healer. It was so random because I was just walking by with my friend and we saw a sign of a Reiki healer, and she was like, "Oh yeah, it's cool, but you feel, it's like it's really nice, but you have lots of emotions the next day after." And I was like, "Okay, maybe I need this. Maybe this will help me," without knowing anything about like what it is or what it means. And I went into this Reiki healing session, and this woman like really helped me. Like I felt such a release of energy that for like the first time in my life, I started to feel safety, and I started to feel like, whew, okay, I can relax. Like I don't need to be like on top of
Ton.
everything all the time, and like, trying to solve everything and take charge. And I told her about my injury with my leg, and she said, "Okay, I'll send energy there, but obviously I can't guarantee anything." And
Yeah.
then my leg actually healed very quickly after that, and I was really surprised. And so I was like, "Okay, there's something to this." And I had like a yeah, I had
Like,
like a big
oh, okay.
yeah.
It's starting to come together, the pieces.
Yeah, like little breadcrumbs and everything are
Oh,
assembling.
yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, I had a lot of emotional releases, and a lot of things began to change, especially when I started meditating and committing to meditation, and collecting crystals and kind of just getting into like little by little. And then what really began to jumpstart my journey was actually starting to making a commitment to start healing my trauma in
Oh,
2019. Oof, yeah. I became aware of this, giant festering wound inside of me that was passing out into every aspect of my life. And I was like, it's time to deal with this. Um,
it's
so
so true. Someone listening to this be like, same.
yep, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for real. Like yeah. It's just real out here. And so, like, I started going to a somatic therapist because in the past I had tried talk therapy, but it didn't really do much for me, honestly. And then going into somatic therapy, it was the first time where, because I already practiced mindfulness a lot, so it was really, really natural for me to work with a somatic therapist. And she actually said like she hadn't seen anyone respond so quickly to the therapy, and my body started releasing all the emotions, all the trauma, and it was like, wow, like all these chronic health issues started to get better. Like I had like a really poor immune system. My gut health was really bad, like very inflamed, migraines, stress, like all these different things.
All the things.
And yeah. So when I started to heal my trauma, it was like finally I started experiencing some relief, and it was like very intense, like a lot. And it was so interesting because at the same time that I was doing this really deep trauma healing journey, I was playing the lead in a musical where I was playing this like little girl who is called A Little Princess, the musical. And it's about this like little girl who has like all this, crazy childhood trauma and like her dad dies and everything. And so I was like, "Oh, oop, okay,
Okay.
universe." Like we're in this.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it
The
was like in order,
synchronies.
yeah. So it was like in order for me to really be able to play that role, I had to go through on this like inner child healing journey and everything. It was really interesting
Yeah.
how it all kind of connected. And then right at the end of the school year, so like in June, as I was getting ready to like leave university for the summer, I did a meditation to meet my spirit guides, just with no expectations whatsoever. It's like a YouTube meditation or something. And as I went into the meditation, and there was a certain point where it was describing like crossing a bridge. And as I was crossing that bridge, I just started like sobbing uncontrollably. I started crying so much because I felt like there are these beings who have been waiting for me. Like my real family has been waiting for me for so long, and we're finally going to be reunited. And it was just such a like visceral experience that came out of nowhere. And I was like, whoa, oh my God. And so I was just crying and feeling like, oh, finally, finally, we're going to be together again. And I came through in the meditation into this courtyard, and I saw like all of these beings there, like so many beings, like these star beings. And I saw this like galactic divine mother figure who was just these rays of pure light. Like she almost looked like it's hard for me to describe even, but just like these like lines of light and energy and just pure unconditional love. And they held me and they picked me up, and they all like put their hands on me and were supporting me and just being like, "You got this, like we're here with you, you got this, like we're so glad that you woke up now, because we needed you to wake up, we needed you to remember because of like what's gonna happen now." Like they were literally telling me we needed you to wake up before the end of the world. And it was just such an amazing feeling of feeling that like true divine support for the first time
Yeah.
in my life, and that reunion. And because I was going through a really difficult time with my biological mother at the time, and the divine mother came in and she was like, "That's not your mother. I'm your mother. Like, I am your mother."
Isis did that to me.
Yeah.
Like literally in my trailer last year, like
Mm,
Isis was like, that's the exact same thing as like, you know, it's this thing and it's like it's not their fault, but it was like, I'm your mother and this is the love that you can give yourself also. I was
yeah.
like, oh, thank you. Thank you.
Mm, yes. It's so beautiful. And I was even like, I was really dreading like having seeing my mother because I had to go to Lithuania to see her. And I was like praying to for help around this. And so after this experience with the Divine Mother, I came out of it and I wrote like these pages and pages of like channeled information that just came in. And I thought I was just writing a fantasy story. Like I didn't believe any of it.
You're
And
like, this is beautiful, but
yeah, I was
you
like,
know,
this is a cool story, but like, what
like,
is
cool
this,
story, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was talking about, how my soul has lived many, many lives and many lifetimes. And from her perspective, how she's seen me live so many different lifetimes and experiences, and how I wanted to come to Earth, even though I knew that I would need to forget, and that this amnesia would take me and I wouldn't remember for who knows how long. But that
Yeah.
I insisted and I wanted to go, and because I wanted to experience the love and the light in the duality. And so I was one of the first souls actually to come to Earth. And it's been a long, long ride, I have to say.
Yeah. I'm feeling that right now, like for real.
Mm,
Same. Like when I had a past life, I remember like 20 and one past life reading. I'm like, oh, I've been here a while. I've been doing this for a reason, and I think it's
mm,
this for this time
yeah,
very much.
yeah. It's really, really beautiful. And even after that moment of just wow, awakening, it took me a little while for like the cognitive dissonance and everything to kind of click in. And
Yeah.
that's where I started like researching about like, star seeds and star beings and everything, because I was trying to figure out like what it was that I had seen, like who was this being that I saw. And I couldn't really find exact answers, but I found out a lot
There's
of different
so much
things.
out there.
Yeah. And then I would even t talk with I would meditate with my spirit guides and be like, okay, if you're really here right now, like come over and like give me a kiss on my cheeks so I can feel you, like if you're really here. And then I
Yeah.
would feel like a little warmth on both of my cheeks and be like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
You're like, oh, I can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's real. It's very real. You're open to it,
Mm.
yes.
Yeah, and I like thought I was going crazy, and so I even told my somatic therapist about it, and thankfully she's also very in tune and on her spiritual journey, so she was like, "Nope, that was real, like that was a real
Mm.
thing that happened," and I was
Can confirm.
validate it.
Can confirm.
Yeah,
Yeah. See,
yeah,
it sounds very much like you or yeah, very guided, yeah, to that. And I
mm,
mean, but I feel this too. I want to say this on the thing of too of you talking about this, and it seems like some of the star seeds past ours are very difficult because we come from places that were full of love or whatever, and we choose to forget to come here to
yeah,
figure it out. So a lot of times that we have very intense childhoods and intense things because we picked to come help whatever that family or that lineage or that thing needed to break.
yeah,
But it's a lot.
yeah, yeah. It
It's a lot.
is, but it's beautiful, and it's beautiful to be able to have that role and be that facilitator be that activator as well in the family. Because, oftentimes
Yeah.
a lot of starseeds can be like the black sheep of the family, be like the one who's misunderstood, who's talking something crazy. But I've
Yep.
also seen how, people in that family, like when you give people space and they just see you living your life and thriving and doing you, eventually sometimes they'll come and ask and be like, can you help me? Like, how are you
Yeah.
doing
And
this?
that's
What
the
is your
point.
secret? Yeah.
And that's the point where we come here because, the lineage breakers, it's like a thing. And it doesn't make that our family who are not that bad. It just, we have that role and it can be a lot, especially when we come here to forget and everything that has been made to have us be who we are. And, it's, and I see that a lot of star seeds, a lot of stuff because like they want to give up, they want to go home, they want to just, and it's like,
Yeah.
I get it too. I get it. This is hard. It is hard. The stuff that I went through, the childhood stuff, the stuff that you went through. But here we are sitting here having this conversation, knowing that love is key, and that means we remembered.
Mm. I'm
Remembered.
so sorry. Someone is knocking on my door. I'll be right back. Sorry about
All
that.
right, we're back. She found who was at her door. But yeah, when we were
Yeah.
talking about that, but yeah, doing that. But I want to know, so I'm pretty sure you figured out who it was that came to you.
Hmm.
I'm sure everyone would love to know that.
Yeah. I mean, what I've found is just pure divine mother, like pure divine mother essence, like the Sophia Christ consciousness. And the being who came to me that day, it, again, it's not so much of like a who, it's just the pure frequency of her essence came in, and she has
Yeah,
many different faces
yeah,
and many
very
different
many, lots.
expressions. Yeah. But her
Yeah,
frequency is undeniable.
yes, and that's the frequency
Mm.
of that. What I believe too is that, especially on this journey, and that's why it's very important to know that it's different for everyone. And I talk about this a
Yeah.
lot, being different for everyone, for the fact that just because someone has something visit or this thing, like what does it feel like to you? It could be that's what your soul picked, and that's what the being's coming to see you. So just because you don't see something that somebody
Mhm.
else does doesn't mean the frequency's not there, doesn't mean that the messages aren't coming through. We're all so
Yeah.
individualistic. Like for me, for you, you felt that. For me, it was Isis, straight Isis, right? And for somebody
Mm.
else, it could be Mary Magdalene. Somebody else, it could be,
Mm.
any type of, goddess or feeling, or it could be a dolphin, like a straight
Mm.
dolphin
Yeah.
coming to someone. And I think that's of this podcast, I very much want to get it so people understand that we're all different, and don't question if your experience is different than mine or yours, of how you
Mm.
came across what's going, because it's all there to wake us up and bring us back to the non-separation love oneness. And how you get there
Yeah.
could be a Pleiadian or it could be Mother Mary. Like it could be, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's the same frequency, but what resonates with your soul.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. And there's so many different paths. Like there's so many different ways to find our way, and that's kind of what's beautiful about this world is that there are so many ways to find that peace and to find that love, and we can't ever, try to control anyone else's path or compare our path to other people's, because we're gonna be exactly where we need to be for our soul. And I know sometimes like it can be a challenge as well when you see maybe people who are close to you or family members or friends, and you want to be like, come on,
Share
it's
this with
so
me.
close, it's so clear. But you just have to like let them live their story because they need to live it for themselves, and you can't alter it for them.
Oh no. And I remember, and it's funny because I never thought I would be that person because I've been kind of awake. But when I like really woke
Mm.
up in 2020, like at the end of that, and I started doing this, and it actually really started resonating, and I was like, here's a book, read this book, here's this thing, and I was like, and then after a while, I was like, oh no, girl, you gotta stop.
Mm.
And, and and I
Yeah.
would get kind of sad, and I'd be like, oh, and then when I lost everyone but my husband, like no one came with me. I was like, oh, and I mean it a little bit, but then I was like, you know what? This is this path. And I think even in the last week, this has really come to me of like, I think I just did a reel. I was like, I got to do my own, the best, like you said it before, being the
Mm.
example. And if you put your journey or your stuff on hold so that someone else will catch up to you, you're disservicing
Yes.
the entire thing.
Whew.
Ugh,
Yep. That's a big one.
yes. And it's like, but
Wow.
and then some of these too, I noticed it like it's like, oh, we've been friends for 20 years. I never had, like, or I've literally have seen this person every day for the last 20 years. Like, what do you mean they can't come with me? Or
Mm.
what do you mean my
Oh, yeah.
journeys? And it's like, oh God, and that's what hurts a lot. And I think that's us a very big starseed thing too, where we want to belong because we
Mm.
came here, and we really don't belong already because we ain't from here. And then we find people, and
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, that's not actually your soul tribe. It's like you were just there to help. I'm like,
Mm.
fine. So yeah, like I think that's why coming home to yourself, remembering to yourself is so important, and just
Yeah.
and not focusing on yourself in a selfish way. The human word selfish has its meaning in this day and age and forever, but in the way of self, and this is what I say, I'm like, be so into yourself that your cup is overflowing so much that it overflows, and then everyone else is overflow, and then it's just overflow, and that comes
Mm.
from, not being nice, but being kind, having the boundaries and whatever. Yeah. So it's like, it's all coming to that where, and I think that it's very hard to, when we start to wake up from, being here where we're like, oh, but this is what everyone else is doing. So it feels so weird. And then we have the survival instinct that has been born into us, which gratefully some of the new babies are being born will be born without that because it's no longer needed. But for us, we have it.
Mm.
So it's like, okay, but if I do that, the tribe, I won't be, and then I'll die out here in the jungle.
Yeah.
So we got to take that we're different now. We have that. And there's so many things that happen that now allow us to connect. Like you are in Mexico and I am in the US. Like, but here we are. Like
Mm.
I'm literally looking into your soul right now. So, people have a lot of things about the internet, but I'm like, I'm looking into your soul with my sweet eyes right now at
Yeah.
that thing. So, you know, and it's kind of like too, we could go back to like, primitive burning people, whatever. But it's just, I feel the way that the world's going, that's just not going to be tolerated if
Mm.
you continue to do your aligned action. And it can be fair because it has happened. But the
Yeah.
battle of light and darkness, the light is getting the upper hand. It doesn't mean the darkness can completely go away, but it does mean that the darkness cannot influence as much as it used to. Therefore, we are able to rise now.
Yes. Boom. Mic drop with
Like,
that one.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
I feel this really, really strongly and really beautiful because it's true. Like the light workers really are rising at a capacity that has never been seen before. And our ability to connect through the internet, through the quantum field, like when I do sessions with people all around the world and I can connect into their field and see everything and
Hmm.
there's no limitation, and it's like that activation, that connection, it's helping others rise because our field, as we do this deep work, as we heal and as we embody more light, our field expands to such a degree that we truly are influencing and changing the world and the collective consciousness just by being ourselves. And I
Yes.
often, tell people and remind myself, and I've felt this, that, the more that we heal ourselves, we truly are being of service to the world. We truly are like activating and bringing new codes to this world. And I know that myself and a lot of starseeds and lightworkers, we have these persecution wounds, like you said, like
Oh
being
yeah.
left behind by the tribe or being burned at the stake or like having your temple be burned down. And it's
All the
so
things.
real. Yeah. It's
Hmm.
so real inside of us. And so I've really been deep on that recently in my process of feeling somatically through all of those different layers because God has called me forth to be seen, but simultaneously there's such a fear of being seen
Oh,
that I've had to work through and heal, and that fear of rejection, that fear of being abandoned and being left, and just for being, speaking that radical truth and being that light in the world and that activator. And it's like now
mm,
we have these really unique opportunities with the social media, with the internet, with sharing. It's like, you're not just gonna be speaking to the 50 people in your village, like you're speaking to a global audience,
mhm.
and you have the potential to impact so many more people with this. So
Yes.
it's like we're rising now and healing those wounds and healing those past lives, which I have a technique for doing so consciously and working through those things, consciously going into the past lives and resolving them and rewriting the timelines and just working that out of the body and reunifying and empowering ourselves to now be able to step up and really take that space.
Yeah, and it's so important because even in a lot of the spirituality stuff, and I was just talking about this with somebody else where it was like, some people will go very much into love and light or very much into shadow work, and there cannot
Yeah.
be it has to be a balance of both. And
Yes,
so
absolutely.
when you do this, and it's like going into your past lives to move it out, because when you do that, then you can be living here. Because that's the whole point.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that get so caught up in past lives that they literally spend their entire lives trying to figure out their past lives and why and why and why, that then they die and they're like, oh, and then they have to come back and redo it. But if you can alchemize balance by not, or so some people like before, I would never go, I would say, I'm not going to go in my past lives because that doesn't matter. Right. And I was like, so then I was at the part where I was like, there was no work in the past lives. Right. So I was just trying to be present,
Mm.
but there's things in the past that was influencing. And they say this thing too is like the decisions you make now, what I make right now, which is now in the past, will affect the future. So if you think
Yes.
about it that way too, so it's like deep, you don't have to like constantly deep dive, but we can go into these things and find what the thing, and then you let it go.
Exactly.
So you don't have to
Yes.
repeat it
Yes,
or live
exactly.
it
So
here.
it's, yeah, no, for real. I'm like, you guys want a shortcut, like work quantumly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
Work from
quantum.
above.
It's all
Yeah.
happening right now. So you could go in like
Yeah.
and pick it and do that. And it's very hard for sometimes to really like vibe with that, because do you remember like when you were trying to do like a math problem and you didn't know how to do it, and at first thing, and then your brain starts to hurt and it feels like you have a brain
Yeah.
freeze without. I feel like some of this stuff is what happens because we're like, and a perfect example is like I used to hang out with a bunch of people that like to play D&D and like really into that, right? And my brain is just like, and when I first started with them, they would explain to, I would go home for the first month and I would go to bed because my brain just could not take this. I was so tired, right? But then as time went on, I still don't get it completely. But as time went on, like when they were talking, my brain would hurt less. I wouldn't just pass out when I went. home. So know that on
Mm,
this journey, when you're gonna go to sleep. You're gonna have to take a nap
yeah,
because it's a lot of
yeah.
information. But as you navigate that and learn, and it might, like it says, like I'm not out there playing D&D and like learning these things, but if someone was to talk about something, I could at least have a thing of that. And if I wanted to grow that, I could. You know what I
Mm,
mean? So that's why, like, a word of advice for everyone here is like, if it's overwhelming you right now because it's so new, just give yourself a little time to at integration to do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just resting, like literally sleeping sometimes. Like I'll sleep like 12 hours or something after like a big integration because it's
Yeah.
your body, your emotional body processing. And like sometimes we also need to take a step back from the healing and just
Ooh.
live life and enjoy ourselves and enjoy this human experience because like this is why we're here. And I know I've been through these phases myself, like in the first couple of years of my awakening, where I was all about like my past lives and astral projection and seeing all this stuff and like super star seed. But now I'm just like, oh, I'm human. Like, I'm here to be a human and experience life on Earth. And I just don't, I feel it because I've also integrated a lot of that. It's like I don't feel the need to escape so much into some other reality.
Hmm.
There's more to do here. And it's really that process of like grounding because sometimes when people awaken, it's easy to get ungrounded and be very much in the higher chakras because sometimes those are the easiest ones to be in for a time because when you start
Yeah.
going down into the body's chakras, like the lower ones, that's where the real trauma is. Like that's where the
Hmm.
real work is in your
Yeah.
body. And you have to really contend with that like root level survival fears and the traumas that live there. And
Yeah.
so it's definitely a process, and you can kind of see where people are at with that and know how to guide them. And the past lives, like it's so interesting because it's never past, like everything is
Mm-mm.
happening simultaneously and
Yeah.
everything is in the now. So it's like what you're carrying in your field, what you're vibrating and you're attracting into experience in your physical reality can be such a direct reflection of either another lifetime or some part of you that you haven't met yet. And it's like the universe is constantly acting, working through us and as us. And, I also read this thing yesterday in this book talking about like, you know, this really shift my consciousness and understanding like unity more and more is that you see yourself as everything. Like the person that you're dealing with who's maybe challenging you, like you see yourself as
The
them.
mirror.
You see them as you. You see like, the rocks, the trees, your dog, like everything. It's you. It's all you're all the same energy. And it can be deeply comforting and, confronting because then you see people who you may feel like you're butting heads with and be like, okay, you're a part of me, you're an aspect of me, and you're giving me this reflection and this lesson.
Exactly.
And like sometimes even just the day to day, like relationships and life and like cleaning your house and doing the dishes and taking care of the kids, that's the ground for your spiritual work. That's the ground for your spiritual awakening because it's constantly giving us material and it's constantly like feeding back to us what we
Yeah.
have to discover.
Yeah. And it's just so important too. And that's a balance thing. And I do
Mm,
think when you first wake up, doing that is beneficial because what
mm,
happens is if you are very asleep, you have been in your lower chakras and
mm.
and you have not been able, but you're not alchemizing the lower chakras, right? So
Yeah,
you can see some
yeah.
people that are very asleep but they're very stable, like financially and whatever, but they are like dead inside, right? And so when they
Yeah,
wake up, going into their higher chakras, figuring that out, that is what they have to do first to
yeah.
once you waken those up. But like you said, you can't stay there. You have to
Hmm.
then go to the lowers and alchemize that to, like, let's say you used to have very much stability in finances or in the root of and the material thing. But now that you're awake and you actually know and you're remembering, you have to reprogram those to what stability really is, because you're remembering the higher frequencies. And the higher you go, the more grounded you need to be. And it's just like a
Yes.
tree. Like the higher that the branches and go up to, if you notice anything about like a beast tree, is that
Mm.
the higher that the branches go, the deeper the roots go.
Yes,
And
exactly.
if the roots do not go deep enough and the top keeps growing, then comes a storm and there goes the tree.
Yeah.
So it's so important, and the fact that we have consciousness, so do the trees, so they do know.
Yes.
But like, which is why they're constantly trying to root into your home when you
Mm.
put it right next to you. And you're like, why is this tree in my living room? Well, it's trying to root down because it's getting big. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's how we are. But like I said, when what happens is when a tree, when you plant it, what do you put it in there? Like a seed, what does it start with? Roots. It's like, I got to have
Mm.
roots. And then all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's like, well, I got to grow up. So I
Yeah.
can't just stay in the soil. So I'm growing up. So it starts to grow up and grow up. And for a little while there, the tree is a little taller than the roots are. It's
Mhm.
reaching for the sun. It's like, oh, I see the sun. Yay, I'm going up. And so you
Mm.
see that with trees when they're growing, the roots aren't really that much deep, but this is growing. And once it reaches a point, it's like, all right, now I gotta ground, so that it starts that the
Yes.
roots start getting larger. And
Yeah.
we're a lot like nature. So that's with us. But yeah, when you first wake up, hell yeah, find your past lives, find your stuff, go to those chakras and
Mm.
just be like, and then realize, okay, I got that message received. Now I got to do what I came here to do the lower stuff. Like, and
Mm.
then eventually it's like up and down, up and down. I'm up here. Okay, I
Yeah.
got to do something. My crown is doing that. Oh, I need to do that. That's my root right now. Like, oh, that's my
Mm.
heart right now. Or it's just a constant flow, you know.
Yes.
And that's the thing. But yeah, you're right. It's like
Mm.
people who on the things they get stuck in the higher. And then they wonder why things are why they feel so chaotic is because they stopped too soon on the past.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. And I see it with so much compassion and so much love as
Me
well
too, so
because
much.
I've been there and
Me
I've
too.
literally been in that place of consciousness and it's like it's easy to create an identity out of something that is really temporary actually.
Hmm.
And then the deeper that you go, the more that you unravel really and the more that you explore, you realize that identity is constantly shifting and constantly changing and it's hard to construct something out of what is still developing, out of what is still, growing and transforming. And
Yeah.
it feels like we're always going to be in this process of
Of
transformation and
transformation
deepening. And there's
and growing. And the trees are too, as
mm,
you see them, and they might stop looking taller and the roots might stop, but it's like what's happening with that is that the nutrients are still coming through. They're losing their leaves only till the next year to get new ones. Like,
yes,
you know what I mean? Like it's this
yeah,
thing in this cycle. Like when a tree pops up like this one right here, those leaves next year are not going to be those leaves. They're going to fall off. So it's in this cycle of the stuff, and that's us. We're constantly learning and evolving, and that could seem very daunting. Of like, what do you mean there's not a destination? What do you mean there's not a destination? But the truth of it is, it's not about the destination; it's about the journey. So the destination
mm,
doesn't really actually matter. So
yeah,
enjoy the journey.
Yeah, we're all
Like,
gonna die anyway. We go
yeah,
back to the light.
yeah. And then we're gonna might come back and do, whatever we're doing. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
cycle. It's such a cycle. And
Mm.
embracing that. But yeah, it's a tough one. And the stories like you and me of like having mother wounds and having this stuff and being the ones to break the entire lineage, it's a lot. It's,
Yeah.
we're like, what? But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't step up because
Yeah.
it will help others. And
Yeah.
just because maybe they don't have such a deep growth path like we do, doesn't mean that theirs is any less important than ours. Like, and I say
Yeah.
this with my husband, where this guy can float through life. The traumas he had been with are nothing like mine, right? And he can adapt, and his root is whatever. But even through his awakening, like, right? And he is woken up now, like he is woken up, right?
Mm.
And we kind of did it at the same time, like really at the same time. And it was like for him, it wasn't easy breezy,
Mm.
but and for
Mm.
me, it was like burning and lava and whatever, right? And he would have this thing where he was like, I feel kind of bad that it's easy. I looked him in the like this. I looked him in the face and I said, no. I go, this is your path. And if both of us were burning, what do you think is going to happen? And he's like, oh, yeah.
Mm.
But I was like, no. But what your journey of what you went through, whatever, that is the journey you went through to inspire the people that you will with your story and your thing. Like, and I really think that some people didn't need to suffer as much with the contracts that they picked and whatever. And sometimes
Yeah.
we can get lost in that victim of like, oh,
Yeah.
I looked at when I first met him, I was like, must be nice. And I really kept that to myself because I knew that it was not, it wasn't going to make a difference. Right. And I was able to alchemize that to be like, yes, it's nice that he did not have to do what I did. And yes, it's nice that I went through that because now it's going to help me alchemize what I have to. But it was
Mm.
hard for a little, and it was hard for him to be like, oh my gosh, what's the suffering that you've been through? Like, who am I to have not had to suffer like you? And it's like
Mhm.
that too. There's a spider right here. Okay, I'm just gonna say it's abundance. You stay right there.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's like it's staring at me. Yeah, so for him, it's been but it's been difficult in his own way. But he's felt guilty in some way of like, but I'm not suffer like it doesn't appear to be as suffering as what you are. And I'm like, nope,
Mm.
this is your path. And that's okay. And there's no reason for me to be jealous or whatever, because when you think about what we've been through, as much as it hurts, it was exactly what we needed to alchemize what we're going to do or what we have come here to do.
Yes. Absolutely. 100%. And there's just no way to compare the two paths. And I know it can feel challenging when you're in the midst of it, you're in the thick of it, and you're trying to figure out why, and you're like, God, why are you doing this to me? Why am I going through this? But it
Yeah.
just means that you have like a bigger mission in some ways, and like more space to fill.
Yeah.
And
And doesn't make you
just
better.
yeah,
It just makes that we all have different roles. It's
yeah,
just a different role. It's just a different
yeah.
thing. Just like, someone building, like, somebody actually like made like let's I'm gonna do a real weird example. But like let's say a condo is being built, right? So you have the contractor that put out all the plans, right? He does it in his beautiful office. It's air conditioned, nice,
Hmm.
right? Beautiful plans. And then you have the contractors and the ones that are in building it. And they're building this house off these plans. that they didn't have to think of because that's not their way, right? And one of them hits himself with a hammer, and it's like, oh gosh. So obviously, the guy who wrote the plans doesn't have a thumb or a finger that's whatever. But without both of them, that condo would not have been built.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that like the contractor could draw that thing all at once and there's going to sit some empty land because he's not going to go out there and build it because he don't know how. But
Yeah.
the person building it with their bare hand, well, not bare hands. I mean, there's tools now, but that right there is what bring it up. And that's the same thing with starseeds. That's the same thing with your spiritual journeys. Is that just because what if he stapled himself? Okay, who knows? It's a difference. But that's the thing, is that sometimes things are a little harder or seem harder because that's what the programming is. But it doesn't make it any different. We just had to go through that because we have a bigger thing, but doesn't mean it's more important. It's just as important as the person who takes our big thing and refines it or brings it to
Ooh,
someone else or facilitates it or whatever. All
yes.
comes together.
Mm. Wow.
Oh God, that came right straight through my heart soul.
Ooh.
Because I know
I'm
there's
just
people out there
receiving
is like,
that.
why am I not suffering? Or why am I suffering so much? It's like, nah, I
Mm.
almost want to hug all of you with my soul heart. But yeah, we're
Yeah.
all here, just like what you went through, and now you're sitting here and you're helping women and men and people just know that the Christ consciousness is about love and just standing in that power of that and knowing that it got you murdered. But like you're like, nope, but I'm gonna still do it now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's oof. It's
Yeah,
it's big. And
yeah,
it's because our souls, we have to. It's like
yeah.
we have to shine, and not because we need something or we need to prove something, but just because it's our essence. It's what we're made to do. And
Hmm.
everyone has a different gift and a different expression of that. And all of them are so beautiful and equally worthy. And it's like
Yes.
we're happiest when we're doing what we're here to do. And that's what fulfills us and fills us with the passion and the joy and the light and the dark. And it becomes so fluid once you learn the language of your own soul and your own body, and you learn to really truly love yourself and pour that love back into yourself. And from that
Yes.
space, it's like you can do so much for the world, and you know how to take care of yourself, and you know how to love yourself and give love to others and what you need. And it's kind of being like learning how to be a responsible human as well, and being like a matured human, because
Yeah.
that's where that what we're essentially doing when what we're rebuilding here. And there's lots of challenges that come with that process.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're all just really doing the best we can. Like, I think it's important to remember that, like, the majority of us are probably really just doing the best we can, and have good intentions with whatever we're doing. The people who are asleep, who are awake, aside from maybe like the evil elites and dark forces, but
Yeah, but
most
that's
people
because
are
that
like,
they don't have love. So, and we
yeah,
can't really hold it against them if they don't have love.
yeah,
So, yeah, so it's like that, and it's even with that, it's like they have their part to play. And
yeah,
for us to focus on that is just a disservice again of like, no, let's just come back to each other. Let's come back to love. It doesn't mean that we're ignoring, the shadows, and we're not ignoring that. It's just that I think we were talking about that where it was like we're not ignoring it, but we're choosing to focus more on the light,
yeah.
while not bypassing the dark. It's just we're not staring
Mhm.
into the dark. We can stare into the light, but we can also turn our head and be like, the darkness is there and I acknowledge you. Like, I'm not like, oh,
Yeah.
you're not there. No, you're there, but you're not going to
Yeah.
run the show.
Yes, exactly. And the way that we can do that practically with ourselves is like just allowing those emotions to flow through us and allowing ourselves to be present with everything that comes up without even labeling it as good or bad or being like, oh, this emotion is better than that emotion. It's like, no,
Hmm.
I'm just existing exactly as I am. And that is beautiful. And, whether you're crying or you're laughing or you're dancing, whatever you're doing, just doing your best to be present with it and learn from it and really explore it and look at it with curiosity. And through that, it's like darkness. It's like I can wake up, I can have a trigger or wake up feeling a triggered and move through it in like 20 minutes. And then I've gained like a beautiful new insight and understanding, and just that much more of me has come filled with light. And it's like
Yeah.
the more love that you let in, the more it will bring that stuff up. So for me, I always just really emphasize for people to have that toolkit and to have the tools and the processes that when these things do inevitably come up, you can move through them consciously, and it doesn't rule your entire reality or doesn't completely derail you.
Yes. And that's a thing, the derailment of,
Mm.
or like, uh this doesn't work. I might as well just give up. I might as well stop. I might as well, you know, I gave it the old
Mm.
college try or whatever that thing is or whatever. Like, it's
Mm.
like, and that's the thing about this journey is that doesn't exist here. It's literally you move through it, you flow it, you go it, you have the balance, you find the yin, and sometimes you're in the yin and sometimes you're in the yang. And that's okay
Mm.
because you're supposed to go back in the balance, but you always got to come back until, and that's the flow of letting it go. And it might have been different on different planets, it might have been different or whatever, but here, as we're doing it on this podcast on planet Earth right now, is that,
Live from planet Earth.
that, yeah, Earth School,
Mm.
that is what it is. And for us to fight that part of it is futile. Doesn't mean we can't alchemize. Doesn't mean we can't timeline jump. Doesn't mean we eventually can't get in I can't say it, the makaraka, the thing that spins and we can fly to different things in our
Oh,
bodies. Like,
Merkaba.
thank you. I said it, did not say it correctly. But like this stuff, but that's what we're working for. That's what we're doing. That's what we're getting the density. We're working for it. We gotta work with what we have. It's just like with the computer. If we have to remember, like even if we have like this new software, I think is all stuff being remembered. But it's like until it's available and until like the upload has happened, the software won't work. It can't use. So that's what we're doing. We're uploading new software, new templates,
Mm.
new fonts or whatever to do
Mm.
that. Yeah. So I think it's just all about, especially this year. This is a year 9, everyone. Just know that. We're in a year
Oh my
9. If you're
God.
listening to this next year, just know that this year was this year. Whatever. But
Yeah.
this is all a part of that thing. And I just say it's a one foot in front of the other because that's where the present is, where your foot is. Like, and just
Yes.
keep vibing. And if you have to sit down because you're feeling it, sit down and then get
Yeah.
back up. It's not like you wake up like because humans could walk. It's not we just walk and walk and walk. We sit, we take a nap, we have
Yeah.
some dinner, we go to sleep, we walk again. Cycle, cycle, cycle. We don't. So even though
Yeah.
it's a spiritual thing, it doesn't mean you push yourself into the ground with that. So
Yeah.
all right, I want to know
Mm.
your advice.
Mm.
I mean, you've given a lot of advice in this podcast. So, but I want to know, like, if there's anything else or whatever, like, what is your advice to people on this
Mm.
path or something that you really called to you to mention at this time of whether they just woke up, whether they woke up 15 years ago or on the path, like, what's your advice?
Mm. Yeah. Well, I always come back to offering what has really worked for me. in my experience. And I know that I'm a very emotional person. I know that I have a lot of big dreams and a lot of energies within me, and very multidimensional. And so I really offer for people to explore their being without judgment, and to shine this light on every single part of yourself, and to meet every single part of yourself and connect with them, and really hold space for however you are in each moment. And this pouring back into ourselves is really important and really beautiful, and it's what nourishes us. So even just the act of self-love, like even asking yourself, how does it feel in my body to experience divine love for myself? And it's like you bring that energy loop back in, and it
Mhm.
almost feels like this fountain of energy coming back into you, which is ultimately needed to refuel and to be able to continue spreading love in the world. And the more that I think I know, the more I realize the less I know, and I don't really know anything. And I am just kind of exploring and experiencing this life with anyone else, like regardless of how much time I've been on this journey. What if I ever get to a place where I think I know everything? Like, God, no, that's the worst place to be.
You're like, please
You're
tell me,
always
remind me of this
yeah,
podcast when I said I knew nothing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
because
coming back to just like the solid part. And I like that because it's like with the change, it's like something could resonate and then it doesn't. Or like for instance, in the past, let's say you think you know something and it's really stuff, but then that was a stepping stone for you to go to a higher or different way. So it doesn't mean that you don't know. It just means that you knowing that has run its course.
yeah,
And so always being the student. That's the thing. It sounds
yes,
like that's what you're saying. Just be the student,
yes,
constantly learning. And you might master some stuff and then you're like, great, I know it. I know that. Doesn't mean I know everything, but I know that. And doesn't mean just because you know that completely that you don't need to learn anything else. So I feel like
mm,
that's your thing. It's like just keep going back into it, keep learning, keep growing. And when it
mm,
doesn't resonate, move on to something else because something will and might come back around, and just do it all out of love. And when you find yourself
yes,
not loving, pause, just like take a breath and find the love, and and we're talking like
yeah,
the unconditional love, not the conditional, not the stuff,
yeah,
just the love, that pure, that you know that's in your soul, that you can feel underneath all the stuff that feels there, even if it's so tiny. That love.
yeah,
Mm,
yes,
that's so juicy. This is such a juicy, flowy, magical conversation. And
mm,
I just love it. And I just love that the amount of people on this podcast, everyone's so different, but it's like the same message over,
yeah,
and everyone has their own little ways. And that's how you can see that the message is the same, and you can feel us when we talk, but it might sound like something completely different. Like for you, in the somatics of, you know, Mother Mary's milk or whatever, and someone over here is like, I'm out here doing this on the grass and the sun's, it's the same thing, but that's what
mm,
lights them, and that is what's going to purely, divinely push the light into the world.
mm.
I'm here for
Beautiful.
it. Be here for it.
Wow.
So thank you everyone for joining us on this beautiful, beautiful conversation. I will put information in the show notes if you guys want to reach out to either of us. Yeah, because this is,
Mm,
but love, man. Love is the
yeah.
medicine and the answer
Mm,
right there.
yes.
So, all right, everyone. I am sending love, light, and authenticity, and I hope everyone has a beautiful now. Bye.
Bye.